Welcome back to Sunrise Live. Joining me in studio is the CEO of Global Peace Youth Corps, Daniel Juma, and we're talking about entrepreneurship opportunities for the youth come 2013. All the youths, this is something definitely you want to listen to. Daniel Juma is experienced when it comes to business in Kenya. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Great to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
Today we're talking about a very interesting topic. I mean, youth and business. Youth these days in Kenya love to venture into business. Yeah. Do you think 2012 provided opportunities for the youth?
I think opportunities are there, just that the young people have never gone for these opportunities. And I think as we go to 2013, I think this time around, the youth must take advantage of the opportunities available, especially the new constitution, the new county governments. If you look at the county governments alone, there is so much for the young people to take advantage of. They no longer have to come to Nairobi to look for employment.
Yes.
Within the county alone, the young people can either run for seats, county representatives, even within the county government themselves, there'll be cabinet secretaries. And apart from that, the county governments will need, business opportunities. I'm looking at young people taking advantage of the 10% that the government came up with, the 10% on procurement, where now the Ministry of Finance is encouraging, has given young people 10% advantage compared to other people. So within the county government, I think young people from those areas must take advantage of these situations and go for it. You can't wait for it to come.
Right.
They must be innovative and go for the opportunities that are there. Yes, in this county government.
You've talked about 10% being allocated to the youth, which is such a great thing.
Yeah.
And in the past, we've seen the youth get some programs like Kazi Kwa Vijana. We also have CDF, which claims to also help the youth in starting businesses. But do you think that's going to be effective enough?
No, I don't think that's effective enough. Because what, for example, Kazi Kwa Vijana did was basically to employ the youth to be able to just pay them for the kind of works, the services that they did, cleaning roads and building and stuff like that. But as much as I appreciate what Kazi Kwa Vijana did, the opportunity provided for the young guys, I think we should have done it much better. For example, most of that money, some of it, we would have used it to train the young people on entrepreneurship, on how to start businesses, on the kind of opportunities available. But when that fund was available, then when you just employ them and pay them, it means these young people are not given the chance to become innovative and to become creative and to be able to create employment. And also I'm thinking even the youth fund. The youth fund was a great idea. And I think recently they celebrated 5 years since it was established.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think the missing point was that part of training on business, training on entrepreneurship. It's amazing, we have gone around the country. Most of these guys don't even know that the youth fund is available.
Exactly.
So I think the youth fund must, up their art and go down to mashinani and tell the young people that you need to come up, create groups, come up with business ideas, even come up with competitions for entrepreneurships, so that the young people can be able to know. But as it is right now, it's a good idea, but the youth are not taking advantage of it because they don't know how to even access it. They don't even know where to go for the forms to apply for. So I think those are opportunities that young people must take advantage of. And I'm thinking, the Ministry of Youth is there. We have youth development officers in all counties. They must go and ask, how can I access the youth funds? How can I access these kind of opportunities.
All right. If we compare youth in urban areas, say Nairobi, and in the rural areas, are we saying that youth in the urban areas have been able to access these funds and they're already doing things for themselves, they're already venturing into business compared to the ones in the rural areas, because probably they do not have that information?
Yeah, compared to the youth in the rural areas, I think the youth in the urban setting have taken much more advantage than the youth in the rural areas. Yeah, just as I told you, in my work I happen to travel, countrywide, and those young people there, most of them don't have this information. Yeah, in Nairobi we have the advantage of the internet.
Yes.
We can access information very easily. So. But there, they don't have that information. That is number one.
Okay.
So they can't take advantage of the opportunity if they don't know about it.
All right.
So it is the work of every leader, even the politicians, members of parliament. I don't know whether they tell youths in their constituencies that there is this fund available and can you take advantage of it. They don't do that. Yes, I don't think they do that.
Right.
Yeah. Instead of doing that, I think what happens is just politicking and promising, asking for to be re-elected another time, but not encouraging the youth to take advantage of the existing opportunities.
Okay.
Yeah.
There has been talk about the youth always being encouraged to go out and fend for themselves without relying on politicians. But when you look at education in some rural areas, it's not as good as it should be. Do you think education should be the basis on if youth, especially in the rural areas, because they are the majorly affected, should be a stumbling block in youth venturing out into business? Yeah.
Looking at President Barack Obama, it can tell you that education is the bridge. You can come from a poor background. I like watching that photo of Barack Obama in a Lego with the grandmother.
Yeah.
It's carrying the sack of whatever Sukuma wiki.
Yes.
And compare that photo with Barack Obama in the White House. Now, how did Barack make it? Because of education. And that was a bridge. The American people trust him because he was able to, to get the education to be able to compete with the Americans. So it provides opportunity. So I believe that education is the best equalizer. You may come from the poorest of the poor, but if you can take advantage of education and compete in class, it doesn't matter where you come from. If you can have that advantage of education, then, after some time, I think you're going to be very, very successful.
What are those stories that you hear that this person did not get access to education, he or she left high school with probably a bad grade, but is doing good right now. He or she has so many businesses out there. They are successful. What about those kinds of stories? Can you be successful without having that degree?
Oh yes, you can be. You can be. Even looking at in America alone, Steve Jobs, Microsoft.
Exactly.
Some of these guys don't have degrees, but they made it. So I think our education system is designed in a way not to favor those other people who did not get the highest grades. For example, I know after KCSE, 10% managed to go to universities. Another 15% managed to go to tertiary colleges. But the majority, more than 55%, where do they go? Ask yourself. And every year, these people come out. So it is a big, big issue. And I think it calls for us to be able to redefine our education policies to cater for, entrepreneurship education classes all the way from primary school and secondary schools and universities, so that young people can start thinking business, can start thinking investing, can start being entrepreneurial from primary school, even secondary school, even universities. At GPYC, we run a program called Realizing the Kenyan Dream, in which we say that the Kenyan dream can only be realized if the people themselves realize their personal dreams. Because you hear people talk about the national cake, but have you tasted it? I asked the youngest rural areas, have you tasted the national cake? But they just hear about it, but they don't. It's out of reach for them. So what our education system does, we don't create economic citizens. We just create graduates who, go out looking for employment, which is not there. So I think we need to put an emphasis on how do we create economic citizens, people who can go to the supermarket and fill that trolley with goodies, and in the long run, taxation got the government. And we need to create more people who can contribute, who can pay taxes, who can contribute to that national cake, so that the government can have the money that they need to pay for salaries of teachers and all these other things that we need.
And the hefty perks.
Yes, yes.
Let's compare entrepreneurship and being employed. When you graduate, you look for that job that you've always dreamed of. But on the other hand, there's this vacuum whereby you can take a risk and venture into something. Which is there one that is better than the other? Getting employed. We've gotten so many crusaders asking the youth to get out there instead of waiting for employment, to actually get out there and do something on their own. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I basically think, of course, employment is attractive, and even personally, I worked for 10 years. I worked for the Korean government for 10 years. Okay. Yeah, but even doing that, I basically used to promote trade and investment between Kenya and Korea. But when I looked at, especially Koreans, how they think business, how they innovate, how they start investing. Those people, they start even small companies, even from the privacy of their homes. You don't have to think that you have to open a big office or you have to have this big capital for you to be able to have a business. So I'm thinking that this is the way to go. And there are good examples that we have locally. Look at someone like Ranalo Kosewe, if you know Kosewe.
Yes.
For example, this is someone who started small. He started very small in Burma, doing mishikakis and, but look at what he has done. So now his business is growing, and he's one of the people who are very successful in the restaurant business. So I'm thinking the youth just need to dare. Instead of just sitting around, after graduating, don't just sit there disturbing your mother or your aunt or your father. Even ask them, because, for example, your father has been paying your school fees and you graduated. So if you ask him for even 10,000, that I want to do business, give me 20,000. I just want to do business instead of just sitting here, waiting for employment. Okay. He's going to give it to you. If he gives it to you, then plow it into something small. This is the way to go. And I'm thinking our youth are not, especially the Kenyan youth, we always think that when you graduate, then you need that white-collar job where you're going to sit in the desk and with some but those jobs don't pay. I lived in Germany, and also Korea for some time, and it came out that some of the jobs that pay better are the blue-collar jobs. Like carrying, from the streets, this manual job, they pay much better than the white-collar jobs. But our young people in Kenya today, they look down upon that person sweeping the streets. Yeah, but I asked them, if someone doesn't clean that garbage, then what kind of environment are we going to be living in? Yes. So it's also about attitude change. We lobby for attitude change. We must be able to change the attitude of our young people so that they don't look at this job or this business as bad. There's no business that is bad. You get my point? Okay. If I don't sell that sukuma wiki, for example, or I don't sell that shoes in Kikomba, for example, then there's not going to be sukuma wiki in the house. Someone has to do that job. So the problem is attitude. So we look down upon, and then we despise those who do those small businesses as people with little education, as people who have not made it. You get my point? And this is what we need to change. The government, the Ministry of Youth, and all the stakeholders must come together, even the media, to let the youth know that there's no job that is bad, there's no business that is bad. You can do any business, you can do any job as long as it pays. It's better than sitting down and just doing nothing.
All right. right.
Yes.
Well, at this point, I'd like to invite any questions or comments that you may have. You can direct them to 8040, that's the number. Any questions or comments that you may have, we're talking about youth and entrepreneurship, especially come the county governments next year. It comes with a lot of opportunities, and we'd like to hear what your thoughts are. The number is 8040. Do text in. Now, Juma, as much as we're saying that youth should get out there and venture into this and that, like you mentioned, if your parent can give you 10,000 shillings, good for you. What about that person who has this great, brilliant idea, but they do not just have that kickstart, that capital, because capital, I think, remains the troublesome issues for any person who wants to get into business. What about them? Is there a way out?
Yeah, there's usually a way out. But I know, especially in our situation, the African situation, the Kenyan situation, it's not easy to gain credit. Our banks have made it so difficult for young people to access loans. Even credit cards in Kenya is a big deal. But if you go to other countries like America or Korea, it's easy to, they just hold credit cards. They ask you even in campuses, can you take credit cards?
Yes.
But so this is the problem. So, and this is why the government needs to come in. I'm looking at a situation of, like for example, the Higher Education Loans Board, which gives loans to students to study. But I'm thinking that it's time the government comes up with, postgraduate kind of loans. So when you graduate, they provide some kind of fund. And I think if they sell this idea, even to the World Bank, IMF, they can support these things. The problem with the leaders that we have today is that they are not innovative. They don't come up with brilliant ideas that donors, can support. So I'm saying today, we have the Youth Fund, we have the Women's Fund, but if we come up with a fund, maybe an entrepreneurship fund, and we say that any young person who has a brilliant idea, and you can come up with your proposal, put it on the table, and experts can look it through and see whether it's doable. Then you can be able to access loans. This is the problem that we have. So young people cannot access loans. And even you go to banks, I mean, for you to get a loan, you need to have a pay slip, and the banks need to show how much you earn before they give you a loan. So this is the quagmire that we have. And I think it calls for greater innovation amongst the people, the young people, to be able to cross that bridge. But if we were, for example, in another country, I think things would be much better. I know there's so many young people out there with brilliant ideas, but they don't have the money to take it to the next level. So this is a big problem.
All right.
Yes.
Talking about your organization, you've mingled with youth for quite a long time. What has been some of the success stories that probably you have experienced on your own? Yeah,
I've seen, especially right now as we go towards the next election, 2013. We are currently doing a program in the Rift Valley called Rift Valley Peace Initiative, whereby we basically talk to the youth, because Rift Valley has been the epicenter of violence every election year. So it's a national peace initiative, but we're using Rift Valley as an example. So there alone, we go there and we talk to the young people. We've been talking to them and listening to them, asking them why they did what they did in 2007. As you know, the young people were used, in 2007 for post-election violence. The politicians who you see today, they never went on streets to throw stones. But the young people threw stones. So what I've been hearing is that there's a lot of regret. These young people really, they don't know why they did these things. So this is, and they say they don't want to repeat what happened. They just want opportunities. These guys just want something to do, money to probably do some small business. I remember during PEV, I was looking down from my office, seeing young people running on the streets of Nairobi. But why was I not with them? Because I was busy working at that time. So now even this problem that we're having, post-election violence, and these are basically problems, issues of unemployment, issues of basically lack of opportunities. And I am very, very happy that at least the youth we talk to, they want something better. They want opportunities. They don't want to go back to 2007. They want the government to be able to avail opportunities for them. But usually I tell them, don't wait for government government may take too long to come. Just get out there and do something, anything. And they're willing. Usually when we work with Brand Kenya, most of the time on attitude change programs. And sometime last year we were in the Western Province, and we spoke to these young people about why they don't need to wait. After graduating, they just need to go out and do something. And it's beautiful. Most of them could not wait to leave that place and start something, even if it's just selling groundnuts, even selling vegetables. So I think our youth are ready, are willing. What they need, they're looking for people, leaders who can be a good example, who can encourage them, who can inspire them, who can motivate them. But this is what we're lacking. Our leaders are just talking, oh, vote for me, and now, you see, members of parliament now, they want to be, most of them want to be senators and governors, but look at the record, their record in parliament. I don't know, I'm very worried if most of these people want to be governors, if we have the same MPs going to parliament, to manage the government, county governments, I don't know whether they will bring the kind of innovation that we need, to take this country forward.
It's definitely a concern that so many people have. And like you said, you've been in the counties. I mean, what's the feeling of the youth towards their leaders? Have their leaders done enough to give them job opportunities? And what are they going to do about it come next year's general election?
Yeah, it's amazing. What happens in the rural areas is really amazing, because these young people, they wait for the leaders to come, and when they come, basically, they run after their cars and basically wait for small handouts. This is what is happening, and most of these leaders, I don't think they're willing to give opportunities to the young people to be able to lift them from where they are. Why? Because the leaders want people who can always sing their names, who can look at them like some kind of demigods. You get my point? So that's why they don't provide. I think they don't do their best to uplift these young people from where they are. Because in the event that one young person is lifted, or several are lifted, in one constituency, for example, then they're also going to be able to buy their Prado, which the politician is driving. I don't think the politician wants that kind of competition. You get my point? So that's why they'd rather let the young people, stay where they are, so that when he comes looking for votes, he can be able to splash some money around. This is really, really silly. This is something that we must change. And I call upon the young people, this time they have to do things differently. Because we say that the elections are going to come, yes, but it's going to be the same thing. You get my point? Our problems will not be solved on March after the elections. You will start seeing realignments. Those who missed this post, or those who missed vote, they start complaining again. So immediately after the election, you start seeing again realignments and campaign for the next elections. And this is the problem. So I tell young people, instead of looking at these politicians as the people to solve their problems, just ignore them. Because even after the elections, unemployment is going to be there. We're going to have to deal with it. Corruption, you know my point. So we better do something today. And that's why I'm glad that in conjunction with Brand Kenya, we are doing, 2 months before the election, we are doing the National Youth Summit. And from tomorrow, we're going to have county summits, whereby we will go around with Brand Kenya and several organizations, including UNDP, and basically talk to these young people and educate them about 2013 and about what to do to prepare for 2013. For me, I'm not looking at 2013 as the end. It is just a beginning.
All right, Juma. Let's take some messages here. I am an entrepreneur, but to access finances as a youth is quite a challenge. How can I access credit easily? That's Moses Mwangi in Rai. So many other people here share the same sentiments. They have big ideas like we're talking about, but how can they access credit easily?
Now, this is again the issue I spoke about. Credit is not easy to come by. Yeah, and I understand the frustrations Mwangi is going through, because many young guys have that kind of frustration. And this is where, again, the Youth Fund comes in. So I'd like to tell Mwangi, the Youth Fund is there. I think that would be the next step. I mean, if he has already a business plan, and probably get him themselves in some kind of group and register it as a CBO and try and access the youth fund. Probably that would be the first thing to do. But really, getting loans, especially if you're just a young person who's from school, nobody's going to give you a loan. And this is a challenge to the government. I still call upon the government and stakeholders, like even the World Bank, the donors, I think if we can come together and establish some kind of a fund, endowment fund, to promote entrepreneurship, I think this is going to help people like Mwangi. But this is not here. I'd rather, rather than MPs, voting, for these millions of monies as their takeaway packs, the way they did, if they can come up with, for example, maybe one of these MPs comes up with a bill to set up such a fund, I think this, will assure them, another chance in the next government. Yes. But they're not thinking like this.
Exactly, they're not thinking like this, and I don't think they'll be thinking like this in the next 5 months to come since the elections. Another question here is: are there any more opportunities left out there? Seems like everybody has taken the piece of the cake.
I think Kenya is a land of opportunity. Yeah. If you go out there, especially, you go out there. You'll find that there's still so much opportunities here. Our country is not yet developed. So that tells you that Africa is the emerging place. Yes. And you see, countries like China, they have realized that Africa is the place to be. And that's why they're coming here to build roads, because they know this is the place. This is the emerging market. So there's opportunity. There's so much opportunity. All they need is to come up and identify where they can fit within that segment and grab the national cake. The national cake will not be given to you. They will just, you have to go out and look for it and grab it and claim it. Those who claim it are the ones who get it. Those who don't, they don't get it.
Let's talk about the county governments. They'll come, and of course, the smaller governments will give people opportunities, and especially the youth. But how can they make sure that they're not left out like they have been in the recent years?
The governments, the county governments?
Yes.
I'm thinking especially these county governments. Right now we see most aspirants, I think, going for MPs or what, but they're not looking at the opportunity within the county governments. The county governments alone, I think there's going to be so much, as I said earlier, even you're going to need not just county reps, even the speaker of the county assembly required. So there's so much there. Just that because this is a new arrangement, and still there's no much civic education on what to expect in the new arrangement. So young people don't even know that there is really 2013 presents good opportunities. You get my point? So I think time is up for IEBC to start civic education so that people can know, for example, in the government, what positions are there, what business opportunities will be there, so that young people can stop coming to Nairobi. We can stop urbanization so that we can be able to develop the counties. We're going to have a lot of money within the county to develop those counties. And if everyone is coming to Nairobi, who is going to be there to run those governments? So that's why right now young people should be thinking, go back there, go back to the countries, run for those positions and grab those business opportunities.
All right.
Yes.
Let's finally talk about the Peace Summit that you have. How will it help youth in the rural areas especially?
The Peace Summit, the National Youth Summit that we're going to have in January, that we're arranging with Brand Kenya and other partners, basically, and the reason why we are starting this mini summit in the counties is basically to take it back to the people. So even before the main summit in January, so like what we're having in Kisumu tomorrow with the Brand Kenya, is basically to take it. So from Kisumu we're going to have youths drawn from Siaya, from Nyamira, all those coming together, and then basically being enlightened on the challenges that we face and how we can be able to sort those challenges. And from there we go to another county. So we have a full program until January. And then after January, it comes out in the Peace Summit. So we are looking at, the reason we chose 2 months to the elections, because that period is, someone needs to, politicians tomorrow, are going to come up with messages, politicking, divide the country, divide the youth. But I'm thinking someone has to be preaching a different message. So we're going to be telling the young guys, look, elections are there, but it doesn't matter who becomes president. It doesn't matter who becomes, as long as he rules based on the constitution, then we don't have to fight because one of us, someone from my tribe didn't become president, someone from my didn't become a governor. This is the education that we need to be telling the people. For example, a Luo in Kenya has not, I know so many young Luos who have not benefited from the prime minister's position. There's so many Kikuyus, for example, who have not benefited from the presidency of,
Yes.
So
it's not about
we don't need to tribalize these things. So it's a message that needs to go out there so that as the politicians continue to polarize us, to divide us, but we preach a different message, a message of unity and our national values and stuff like that.
And how is it going to be different? We've had so many projects that have been initiated targeting the youth, so many.
Yes.
But how is this one going to be different from the rest?
This one is going to be different because we are bringing in stakeholders, all those other, programs, we bring them together. And as I said, 2 months before the election, strategic, so that it's the time, or 2 months, almost the election, so that gives them, a chance, a podium to be able to send a message across, so that when we go to the elections, we don't have another repeat of what happened the other day. I know so many things have happened, so many people have different ideas, and we have been calling as an organization that can we have, for example, one peace campaign? You get my point? For example, now we have NCIC doing Kenya Kwanza, and different campaigns. So we have been really trying to bring these organizations together. NCIC, Brand Kenya, and anybody doing a peace. Can we have? Can you come up together and have like one campaign? But these have not been happening because I think everyone wants competition.
Yes.
Everyone wants to do something, to be seen to be doing something, which is good.
Okay.
Because in the end, when there's competition, then there's some, people benefit because everyone wants to outshine the others. But it would have been better if we come up with a coalition of like-minded stakeholders and come up together and do this. That's why this National Youth Summit in January is going to be different, because we're bringing together all these stakeholders, including the government, UN, private sector, so that we can have really one final summit before the elections.
All right.
Yeah.
We have been talking about banks coming in to do something. The government, you've challenged all these institutions to come out and do something for the youth. Is the organization looking to sponsor youths who have these ideas, or in any way just support them and give them that kickstart that they need?
Yes, our organization, Global Peace Youth Corps, basically we are international. We have our headquarters in the USA. We have branches in Asian countries and all over. Africa, we are the strongest chapter. Now, we basically have programs. For example, I told you about the Realizing the Kenyan Dream, whereby we go out and talk to these young people and encourage them to come up with these ideas. And eventually, we arrange situations whereby, they are even able we are able to expose them to chapters, GPYC chapters in other parts of the world. So when they go there, they can see that, for example, how Koreans do things differently, America, how they do things differently. As we're talking today, I think we have a program called International Leadership Training Program, whereby we will give these positions, this opportunity to our young people, so that they are able to go there and learn even about social entrepreneurship. People don't talk about it, but in social entrepreneurship, there's a lot of opportunity. Barack Obama is president today because he was a social entrepreneur in Chicago. He started organizing the community, telling them, okay, this is your problem. Can you solve this problem and what? And through that, he rose to become a leader in Chicago. And look, now he's in the White House. Now, this is as an organization, we can only inspire, provide these opportunities, inspire and motivate them, and let them know that even though they don't have that capital today, they can still get it through another way. So we do that, and through our programs, we have several programs that we're doing. We are even talking about the leadership and entrepreneurship hubs, starting entrepreneurship hubs from primary schools and high schools, so that we can get young people to start thinking innovative, even how to solve problems. And it's amazing, you know, we have this young girl, one of the young girls who went through our program. We have a program called Character Competencies Initiative, whereby the young lady went around and collected money, almost 140,000, did a harambe to solve, you know, those of us from our school who are not able to pay school fees. So we provide these kind of opportunities, this kind of inspiration, this kind of motivation, and eventually, you know, we want to work with the various organizations. We are reaching out to various funders, and eventually, I'm thinking if we sit down together with the funders and even government agencies, we are ready to even become, you know, whatever the medium through which we can be able to get even these endowment funds to be established to help our young people.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Juma, for all those insights.
Yes.
And of course, all the best to the Peace Summit. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right.
And have a good day.
All right. Well, thank you so much for all your feedback. We now take a short commercial break. When we come back, more. Stay tuned.